What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem, and welcome to my hobbying workbench, if you will. It's a small little area that's right now dominated with a big mech. So, with that said, I want to do a bit of a workbench update. I want to try and make this more of like at the very least, a minimum, a bi-weekly thing where every other week or so I give an update as to how this is progressing. And this is purely out of just curiosity to see if people are interested, as well as personally for selfish reasons to keep me motivated to go. Now, I'm very much excited about this project, but if you've done model making, miniature war game, army building, or costume prop stuff, you know that as excited as you can be about something, if you just let it sit, it can go inert for a period of time that you did not plan on or really want to happen. It just kind of does. So I figured if I am at least posting these random videos on the interwebs, that is some motivation to continue making progress so I can be held accountable by myself at the very least. So here we are. In any case, what you're looking at here is a classic Battlemaster model, which is pretty cool. The lighting isn't so great because this was kind of on the fly idea, but this is just an update, so just bear with me. I can always do a better video and stuff later, but this is just a workbench update. The classic Battlemaster is here just for scale because this thing is pretty big when you're looking at it, right? Like, this is not a small model that I'm working on here. This is a 1/60th scale classic Timberwolf that I was able to get my hands on through the power of modern technology, right? The power of printing and internet searching. So that's all I'll say on that. But I'm really pleased to have it. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while and eventually just decided to do it. So here we are. Now, I want to share what I did to get to this stage and also my plan of attack. So one of the things I did, which you can kind of see, and it's parts that still need to get sprayed properly with the little reddish orange hue thing there. You can see it more on the front right here. Is I made myself some mud. I went ahead and I did a technique that I wasn't sure I was going to try and do on a scale model like this, but it's something that I have done in costume prop making. In fact, I've done both just utilizing straight putty and making the Bondo spot putty and baking the mud on a Mandalorian helmet, Hasbro Black Series, that I'm still working on. It's been in a state of WIP for way too long, and it's still sitting in that state. In any case, that's what got me thinking about doing the mud trick on this scale, because you take the Bondo spot putty, you take acetone. It has to be acetone and not isopropyl alcohol. So get your acetone and Bondo. Get a mask, because you're basically going to make this virtually aerosolized, which you don't want to breathe in. And then mix it together in something that is glass, because I do not know what plastic they use to hold the acetone in, but it'll basically eat through plastic cups, to my experience. Anyway, so I mixed the acetone and the spot putty together in a glass jar, and I had some excess there. And then I just apply it to the model. Now, this is a plastic model. Acetone will definitely soften and kind of quasi-melt it if it's just left to bathe in acetone. But because we're applying it more or less like paint, the acetone dries very quickly and should not harm what you're working on unless it's super thin maybe, so do a test. But for me, it worked here. And the thing about this is, it leaves a very thin layer and it dries very quickly, so you can give it a very light, fine grit sanding, and then apply a second, third, however many coats you need after that. And it builds up a nice smooth layer, and it doesn't gunk up detail when you're careful with it, because it's very thin with the acetone. So this helps do two things. It helps you get a smooth to the touch layer when you're done, and it actually works as a great way to tell if you've got sufficient primer coverage. See, the gray you're seeing on the model right now has been tinted with some black wash because it was too light of a gray. And when I sprayed it, this hasn't been sprayed yet, but this colored plastic that this is, when I sprayed it with the light gray, in the lighting situation I was working at the time, it was really hard to tell how well it was coating and if I got sufficient coverage. But when I spray it over where I applied the mud, as I call it, it's very easy to tell. It covers up the reddish brown hue, no problem. In fact, what I like about that is it is very thin. It doesn't gunk up detail. It works for me in that regard. I can give it a very light, gentle sanding that in a future project, once this one's concluded, I'm pretty much going to mud up all my components to give me a better tell of how the paint's applied, if that makes any sense. But that's just me personally. Anyways, so that's where we're at right now. We're at the primer stage for this thing. Went ahead and primered most of what I could at the limited time I had when it was actually warm during this winter. So what I'm going to do is figure out a workaround, because I like to airbrush in the garage where I can leave the garage door open, plenty of ventilation, whatever else, no big deal. But it's cold in the winter and you don't really want to airbrush when it's super cold, but I have a workaround that I'm working on. So hopefully I can get back to getting this thing fully primer coated. Which is the next step here, is to continue the priming process. As you can see, I gotta do another layer here, get it in the nooks and crannies, and I gotta get it on the front of this missile pod here, I gotta get it on the legs some more, on the torso and the arms and everything. So, the next step here is to get everything more or less that darker gray primer color. Once that's done, after that is to maybe put down a black wash lightly, so you can kind of pick out the panel lines a little bit and get in there, because ultimately what I'm going to do is through a series of dry brush to near overbrush technique, build up light gray to a near white, because the goal of what you're looking at here with this Timberwolf is to get it to look color scheme wise very similar to the Mech Commander Timberwolf intro, or the intro of Mech Commander, the Timberwolf in it. It's kind of got a similar look to the Mech Warrior 3 stuff in the intro, but I'm specifically going from Mech Commander 1 intro Timberwolf visuals. So I'm not going for super clean, but I'm not looking to have it run down and ragged either. So I'm looking to build up that super light gray to near white before doing the red coloration and everything else. So that's the plan of attack. This is the state it's in right now. After the New Year's, I'm thinking about maybe doing a kind of bi-weekly Workbench update, or at least that's the idea, to kind of get myself in the mindset to continue making progress and not just let it sit. And you don't just let it sit because you don't want it or you don't want to work on it. It just sits there, and you know, it happens. I don't know how to explain it. If you've done costuming or miniature wargaming stuff or scale model stuff, you know what I'm talking about, I hope. In any case, bit of a random one for sure, but it's been fun getting this thing worked on. And I just realized, like the other day, this thing has been sitting for a little bit and I haven't done anything. And I've been chalking it up to, well, the weather. Well, I can figure a workaround for that. And I might as well try by posting this Workbench progress update #1 and saying, you know, after New Year's, giving myself 3 weeks instead of a typical 2-week concept to make some progress, and then check in whenever either sufficient enough progress is made or the 2 weeks are up. So that's the plan of attack. If you are doing the miniature model side of stuff in the Biotech universe and you stumble across this, let me know. I'm curious to know in the comments, the people who stumble across this that are fans of Battletech, how they are. Are they comprehensive, or are they specifically video games or miniatures or whatever else? In any case, that's all I got for you in this one. I got plans for a future project after this massive project already. It's kind of inspired me. So what I'm doing here is not only trying to get this done, but I'm trying out some techniques, like putting the mud concept, as I call it, the mud layer down, if you will, on something of this scale, where I've typically done it on much bigger, more robust prop stuff. So it worked. Again, if you want to try that, it's Bondo spot putty glazing putty with acetone in a glass jar, mixed up so it's nice and thin, with a mask, because you don't want to breathe the aerosolized product. And then you want to do a test somewhere discreet by painting it on to see if it doesn't, or to make sure it doesn't chew through whatever it is you're working on. But I think it works out rather nicely for smoothing out and being a good telltale of if you got a solid base color down or not. Anyways, that's all I got for you. Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, take care.